the proximal phalanx. So if I'm mobilizing the distal phalanx on the proximal phalanx of the great toe, I will stabilize that. The way I like to hold, because I am going to be, if I'm doing a plantar glide, I'm going to be mobilizing in this direction. I will stabilize the front and back of that toe, so that way when I'm pressing into it, I can do it that way. If I'm doing a dorsal glide, I can just be here holding and do the dorsal glide and hold. Okay. You can use the wedges for some of these, especially for the plantar glides work very well. Bend your knee for me. Bend your knee. So what I can start to do is I can use the wedge. If I can get the wedge right on the joint line itself, if I'm going to do a plantar glide, this allows me to stabilize here. I can use a better palpating finger and do my plantar glide this way. Would be a very good way to stabilize the joint. Okay? All right. For the first MTP, we talked about the significance of that and how some individuals lack quite a bit of extension range of motion. What do we think as far as Andy goes? Pretty good. Not bad, right? Same thing though. If I'm concerned about plantar flexion, which on him I'm definitely not. He's got a lot of plantar flexion, but if I was, I can set his foot on the wedge, stabilize the first MTP, the first metatarsal, grab the proximal phalanx and do a plantar glide. And then, of course, my grades of movements, Maitland's 1, 2, 3s, or 4s, or a Kaltenborn grade 3 where I press down and I hold, okay? For a dorsal glide, because it is just the toe, it's actually, I mean, I'll do this a lot where I'll just lift it up towards me. We talked about always trying to go with gravity. This is one of those, these are not very heavy, so, I mean, I don't mind doing this so much upright. But one other way I'll do it, if I don't want the wedge, I have lots of people sometimes just sitting down. I'm actually sitting on a chair in front of them, and then I can go ahead and work on, you know, dorsal glides in this position where I'm right here. So that's the interphalangeal joints in the first MTP. Okay. What I'm
quick question: do you ever provide traction at the same time?
Oh yeah, you can definitely. You can always apply a little bit of traction, but if you're going to apply traction before you go into the mobilization, don't do a full traction and then try to glide it, because you've taken up all the slack of the capsule by taking it into its end range. So when you are going to do a little bit of a distraction, it's got to be a very, very minute amount that you're doing. Okay? All right. So moving up the chain on the medial side of the foot, the first metatarsal with the medial cuneiform is the next articulation. With the wedge, kind of showed how you can just start working your way up. Yeah, come a little forward. You need the person to come a little more forward so they're on it, but I can get the first metatarsal right on the joint line, stabilize the cuneiform, and then you can do a plantar glide of the first metatarsal on the medial cuneiform. Okay. Moving up still, and just because the plantar glides are easier with the wedge here, you're going to need to scoot forward. He needs to scoot forward more because I need to get his foot down on top of the wedge. This is a little close to the edge of the table too. I'd have him further on. I'd have the wedge further on the table at this point. But now the cuneiform on the navicular, I can find the navicular tuberosity with the wedge. Try to stabilize that. In fact, I might even have him lay a little bit on his this way so I can get him a little bit closer. Now, if I'm going to take him in this position, because I just want the wedge to make better contact with the navicular, that's why I have him in this position. How did my direction of force change? Is it straight down now? Right, I have to go with relation to his foot, so now my force needs to be more in this direction. So I can stabilize that and do a plantar glide that way. Okay? If I'm going to do a dorsal glide, I'll stabilize through the top, grab the cuneiform from below, and do a dorsal glide. Dorsal glides are generally better for dorsiflexion, plantar glides for plantar flexion for all these joints, you know, through the foot. Okay? Navicular talus, same thing. Stabilizing the talus is not as, because if you just put pressure through the calcaneus, you can stabilize the talus, and now I can do a dorsal glide. Here's his navicular tuberosity. I just hook underneath that, and I can do a dorsal glide, or if I want to do a plantar glide, I can do a plantar glide of the navicular on the talus. And that's the entire first ray going all the way up. Okay? It doesn't change too much on the lateral side of the foot, okay?